والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. Before we begin, we will recite Surah Al-Fatiha, Surah Al-Tawheed 3 times for the deceased and forgiven soul of Marhuma Nabhani, the dear sister of Hajj Khanum Musavi, and the aunt of the Musavi family that is here, and also for all the marhumin, inshallah, after salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwa Allahu ahad. Allahu samad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Please accept our condolences. May Allah give you patience, inshallah. Tonight's program is a funeral for dear Marhuma Nabhani. In one of the most difficult times of human life is when a beloved person leaves this world. It is one of the most saddest times, but yet Allah has given the mu'mineen and believers iman and faith that really helps them in this huge challenge. And I always wonder when these occurrences happen, sad events happen, that if a person didn't have faith, what would they go through? Because for us, life is nothing but a temporary stage, part of our life. But the real life begins after we pass away. So how Imam Ali alayhi salam mentions that this life is like a bridge. It's just a bridge that we're passing. Not a place that we build, a place where we pass. So therefore, the real life is in front of us, and we will be one day reunited with our marhumin, with those who have passed away. So this faith and iman is something that really helps us, because the opposite is if a person doesn't have faith, and God forbid, believes in annihilation, that the spirit doesn't live afterwards, then you'd say, I completely lost that person. But when you believe in a spirit and soul, well, you say that that soul, and even according to some of the traditions we have, even looks upon the family, sometimes visits or sees the family, and there still is a relationship to some extent in this world. But then we will be reunited with them in the hereafter. It will be a period of time. Tonight's discussion is something that is very related to funerals and to passing away of individuals, and that is that we always wonder when we die, how many people, for example, will come to our funeral? How will we be remembered in this world? Will they speak good about us, for example? Will they speak bad about us? We're always concerned about this. And today we see we live in a time period where many people are trying to become popular due to social media and influencers. There's a race that people are trying to gain, and sometimes they will follow you so that you could follow them back on social media, for example, or you could follow their channel. So our question that at hand is this: should I be popular? Should I try to be beloved in the eyes of the people? Should I try to be mahbub? Is this even right? Because in our hearts we're saying that nobody wants to be someone that is forgotten. Nobody wants to be someone that is hated. God forbid, some people, there are in cases, their family says if somebody passes away, say, God, good riddance. This person was bothering us, for example, so much. But some cases like Hajj Khanum Nabhani, which has so many good characteristics from her akhlaq, from her promoting salat, for example, to her niece and giving her, say, chador namaz, for example, and performing the Hajj and raising 4 beautiful children. You see, there is a legacy that people love her and want to be saddened after she passed away. And this is what we want, and how the poetry in Farsi has, and I'm just going to say the English, is that that day that you were born, everyone was happy, but you were sad, you were crying. When we're born, when a newborn is born, everyone is happy while newborn is crying. The first thing a baby does when it's born is crying. It says, oh friend, do something in this world, live life in a way that when you pass away, everyone will be crying, but you will be smiling. You will be smiling. So therefore, we have to answer this question. Should we become mahbub for people in front of people's eyes? Should we try to be beloved? Should we try to gain more, for example, people to follow us, people to like us, or no? We're going to answer this question first by one of the prayers of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Our Prophet had a difficult task, and he is one of the highest of the prophets, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, who the Quran says about him, he is alladhi waffa. He is the one who attained. That's one of the translations of waffa, means to take. The Prophet Ibrahim took whatever there was in this world, he took. Because this world is a place of cultivation. This world is a place of building. And he took 100%. The Quran later on says we made him an imam after his kalamat and tests and trials. So one of the trials of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam was that he had to take this family, his son that he was waiting for a long time, and he had a very old age, Prophet Ismail alayhi salam. He was commanded to take him and his mother to Mecca. In Mecca, and you see that many of the Hujjaj that will be performing the Hajj, there's many occurrences about Prophet Ibrahim in Hajj that they have to remember, for example. So it's Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam who built the Kaaba. It's Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and Prophet Ismail that made dua about this place, and he taught people the ahkam of Hajj. And today we have the Maqam Ibrahim, the position where Prophet Ibrahim stood, where he went and he built the Holy Kaaba where he stood. And therefore we see that he was tasked with leaving his son, leaving the son's mother, all alone in a barren land. And we recite, Surah Ibrahim, verse 37, we recite the following verse. We see that it mentions, Rabbana inni askantu min dhurriyati biwadin ghayra dhi zar'in inda baytika al-muharram. Our Lord, Rabbana, our Lord, I have settled some of my descendants in an uncultivated valley, one that doesn't have zar, one that doesn't have anything, is barren. Near your sacred house, Rabbana liyaqimu salat. I have left him here so that they may establish salat, they may establish prayer. And one of the purposes, Prophet Ibrahim says, why he left Prophet Ismail there all alone. And this isn't something normal today. If you go and leave your child all alone, for example, child custody or something will come and take child away from you, for example. But this is an example that Allah wanted in a test. The test of prophets are different than us. This is something that Allah wanted from Ibrahim alayhi salam, to leave this infant there, leave him there. فَجْعَلْ أَفْئِدَةً مِنَ النَّاسِ تَهْوِي إِلَيْهِمْ. So make hearts among the people inclined toward them. I'm leaving him all alone. So allow people to like them. Allow people to care for them. Allow them to be mahbub. Allow them to have inclination towards them. And therefore, Quran continues, provide from them fruits, and that they may be grateful. So therefore we see that tahwi ilayhim, that the hearts of people are inclined towards them, is a prayer from Prophet Ibrahim as salam. So wishing that people's hearts are inclined towards it is not something bad so far, right? It's according to the Quran. This is the dua of Prophet Ibrahim. Would he pray for something that is shunned upon, which is something bad, for example? You say, no, make nobody, for example, make them very humble, make nobody pay attention to them. He asks, make people like them. And then when they like them, they will help them, because we are social creatures. We depend on one another. When you are loved, people will do things for you. We are in need of one another. Let me ask you this, the car, the vehicle you drive. If I gave you 1,000 years, and you didn't have any technology today, any people to help you, just to build this car by yourself, to drive, the same car you have, could you even do it in 1,000 years? First, you have to go for the steel. First, you have to go for iron ore, for example. Could you even provide the shape and form and build, for example, a press brake even, to fold, for example, that steel even? Let alone the engine, the electronics, all of that. So we see we live in a world where we depend on one another. And there's no way we could have reached, for example, the moon without the help of one another. We're social creatures. Therefore, there's one person who studies and he becomes, for example, a doctor and a specialist, for example, in this. There's one person becomes an engineer, becomes a specialist here. And everyone helps one another. So therefore, when Prophet Ibrahim a.s. is making dua for his child to be loved, for the mother of the child to be loved, it's so that also people can take care of them. People can care for them. And you see the story is beautiful, is that Allah provides Prophet Ismail a.s. this infant, and how the Hujjaj, they go back and forth from Marwa, Safa and Marwa, these hills, is because this is what the mother used to do, ran from one hill to the other hill, looking for water, wondering if the son is going to pass away, until he strikes his foot, and water gushes forward, and there becomes this water today known as Zamzam. And then tribes that were passing by, they are surprised. They say, well, what a good place, there's water, and it doesn't stop. So they say, is it allowed, they ask, Hajar, is it allowed for us to stay here as well? And she is in a way in charge of this water, and she, does trading with them, for example, gets her sustenance from them, and therefore lives a very good life from this water that later on, and today that is still, mashallah, providing water for the Hujjaj, which is the water of Zamzam. So therefore, the first verse that so far we have covered, to answer this question, should we be mahbub? And we say this is the dua of Prophet Ibrahim a.s. Two, you see in Ziyarat Aminullah. Ziyarat Aminullah is the ziyarat of Imam Ali a.s. And it is one of the sahih ziyarats that we do. It mentions in the ziyarat of Aminullah, mahbubatan, that God make me mahbubatan, make me be beloved, fi ardika was sama'ik, make me beloved in the earth, make me beloved on earth. Prophet, you're visiting Imam Ali a.s., you're asking, make people love me, and make me also be beloved in the sky as well. Because this is where the balance happens. We'll talk about this a little bit more, is that a person should be wanting people to love them, but not at the cost of those that are in the sama, those that are in the heavens and the skies, to not like him in the way that Allah does not like him. And we're going to see in a way, can we balance this, for example, in a way that Allah loves us, the people love us? So therefore, to answer and continue this, we say that, yes, so far, we have in the Quran, the dua of Prophet Ibrahim a.s. We have in Ziyarat Aminullah, that it is a good attribute, good thing to ask for, to be mahbub, to be mahbub. But now we see that to be mahbub, the most important is this, is that someone is beloved first in the eyes of God, then is mahbub in the eyes of people. And many times we have confused these things. And today when we see people that are trying to gain followers, trying to gain people to love them, you see that in reality, they're not trying to find in a way that Allah loves them. They do not care if Allah loves them or not. There are people today, many accounts, you see millions and millions of followers, but yet, even if they are really love them or not, that's a question itself. But let's just say they do, but at the end, God doesn't love them. So what is the purpose of this? So the first thing that today we have to talk about is if you want to really be loved, and we always see this relationship, is that the people who are most beloved in the people's eyes are the one who Allah loves them the most. Whose grave, for example, after many years, people visit the most? Imam Hussein alayhi salam. One of the biggest annual, gatherings, peaceful gatherings, is Arba'in of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. 20 million people. Because Imam Hussein alayhi salam was mahbub in the Rabb. Imam Hussein was loved by Allah. When someone is loved by Allah, Allah makes them also loved by the people. So we see this category of the name. For example, what is one of the most popular names today for children to be named? Is the name of Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad ali Muhammad. And this is, one of the rights, and the tradition is one of the rights that children have upon their parents is to choose a good name for them. Some of the tradition that says in the hereafter that the children complain. Children will complain and they will be embarrassed when they have a name that is not good for them. Or that sometimes the imams would change people's names, or the Prophet would advise to change your name. One of the rights is the name of a good name for the child. So therefore we see that the most popular name is Rasulullah. Why? One is that connection to Allah. If a person doesn't have that connection, they will be forgotten. There's no way that 20 million people, for example, will visit them again every year, right? So therefore, the first thing we have to ask ourselves is this: how can I be beloved in Allah's eyes? How can Allah love us? And then the second thing is, as we said, how can I be loved in people's eyes? How can people love me? But not, at the cost of Allah. Not the cost that Allah loves us. Allah doesn't love us. We see Rasulullah in Hadith al-Mi'raj. In Hadith al-Mi'raj, you see a very interesting tradition that what causes Allah to love us. In Irshad al-Qulub, it says, this very private conversation, this conversation that Rasulullah has with Allah, that the prophets cannot come, Jibreel cannot follow. The prophets where he advances the stages of the other prophets, our messenger, and that finally he reaches a place where no other prophet is there. The Hadith of Mi'raj says, وَجَبَتْ مَحَبَّتِي لِلْمُتَحَبِّينَ فِي. My love, Allah's love is due, upon those who love each other for my sake. The first thing that if you want Allah to love you, the tradition says, to be beloved in the eyes, to show love to one another. مُتَحَبِّينَ فِي. For example, my brother in Islam, my sister in Islam, I take care of you. I, for example, say salam to you in a very nice way. I have akhlaq when it comes to you, for example. I give you gifts. I take care of you whenever you're in need. I show I have a good connection. And I do this only because of Allah. Because I say, he is a mu'min, he is a pious person, he is my brother in Islam, he is my sister in Islam. And this establishes a community, a strong ummah. You see that a prophet, he did this in two tribes that hated each other, were at battle with one another, now became brothers with one another. So the first is وَجَبَتْ مَحَبَّتِي لِلْمُتَحَابِّينَ فِي. وَجَبَتْ مَحَبَّتِي لِلْمُتَعَافِينَ فِي. It is wajib upon me, my love, to befall on those who are kind to one another because of me. So therefore we see it is nice to be kind to all of creation, either Muslim, non-Muslim, for example. But then when it comes for the believer has more rights upon me. I am more careful about the mu'mineen, and therefore I spend more time with them to gain Allah's satisfaction, inshallah. وَجَبَتْ مَحَبَّتِي لِلْمُتَوَاصِلِينَ فِي. Those who have a maintained communication towards me. So therefore, if you want Allah to love you, you have to be kind to your brothers and sisters. And it's very interesting that, there's a tradition that we share, is that there are those who really don't get along with people. And whenever they go out or they go to masjids or centers, they always feel like, oh, I don't like this center, I don't like these people, they don't like me. They're always fighting, they don't get along, they have a bad opinion about the people. The tradition says this: the best of the believers is the one who is friendly and familiar with the believers. The best believer is the one who is friendly with people. And there's no good in the one who neither gets along with others, nor others gets along with them. They're always fighting with others, for example. There's no good in them. So the first thing that we talked about is that if we care for the people, Allah will love us. And then the tradition continues, وَلَيْسَ لِمَحَبَّتِ عَلَمٌ وَلَا غَايَةٌ وَلَا نَهَايَةٌ. There is no end sign, there is no culmination to my love. There is no limit to my love. The limit of God is boundless. So this so far we mentioned is that a person, once he has to seek Ridwanullah, the love and satisfaction of Allah. Now the second part is this, is that what can I do so that people like me? What can I do? I'm going to mention to you a verse and 5 points from tradition. The first is this verse, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ سَيَجْعَلْ لَهُ الرَّحْمَنُ وَدًّا. Indeed, those who have faith and do righteous deeds, the all-beneficent will endear them to His creation. Those who have iman and those who have good action, and they perform the salihat, Allah will give them wadda. Allah will make them mahbub. Those who perform, those who have belief, and those who have good action. So that's the first. The second, ma yurathul mahabba, from Imam Ali alayhi salam. ثلاثة يجبن المحبة حسن الخلق. The first thing, if you want people to love you, you have to have good akhlaq. 2, وحسن الرفق, you have to have kindness. 3, والتواضع, the 3 is humility. 3 important characteristics. If you have these 3 so far, let's analyze them. A person will be loved. Husnul khulq. Rasulullah was known to have the best of character. Imams alayhi salam were known to have the best of character. When people sometimes would use vulgar language, even when some people would try to put them down, they're still kind to the people. And if you can be yourself in a way that you forgive people, you are very patient with the people, then people will love you. But if you are always very too sensitive, for example, if somebody tells you something, you're always wondering, how I can respond to them, what I can do to them, for example, to do this back, you'll be separated from the people. The second is, we said the first was husnul khulq, 2, husnul rifq, kindness to the people. If you are kind, we live in a civilization, in a culture where many times we favor our own personal life over others. We don't care about others as much. But if you're a person who is caring, if you're a person who is always saying, does somebody need help, for example, if somebody has fallen, if somebody, for example, is in a situation where they cannot help themselves, if you're that person, you go out of your way and you give them an act of kindness, the tradition says they will love you. Yet we see in Western civilization, a lot of times, we don't even know who our neighbors are. We don't even know, for example, who we live with. We don't do any acts of kindness to them. We have a duty to society to be kind and compassionate to the people. As you see, individuals who are like this are mahbub, are loved. The third is this. It says, tawadu, those who are humble. Are you humble? People will love you. You see, how many individuals do we have, no matter what position they had? They were the humble ones. They were not arrogant. They didn't brag about their knowledge. They didn't brag about their power. They didn't brag about their earnings. How come sometimes in our gatherings, when men, for example, sit together and talk, they always want to show off, what do I do, for example? For example, how much money I make. For example, what car do I drive? Right? These are boasting in front of others. The one who is humble, the one who hides these things from the people, he doesn't necessarily show off his knowledge, he doesn't show off his money, he doesn't show off this position that he has, he will be beloved in the people, in the eyes of the people. The fourth is this, is that man hasuna dhannuhu bin nas haza minhum al mahabba Whoever thinks well of people gains their love. If you think positive about your brother and sister in Islam, if you, when you come to them, you speak to them, for example, maybe they didn't say salam to you, maybe you're expecting, them to come forward to you, and you say, well, maybe they were busy, for example. Maybe they did not invite you somewhere. You always think you have husnul dhan to the people. You don't have su'al dhan. You don't have a bad opinion of the people. If you're always thinking positive about the people, people will love you. And the fifth is khairul mu'mineen man kana ma'lafatan lil mu'mineen. The best of the believers is the one who is friendly and familiar with the people, and therefore wala khayra fi man la ya'lafu wala yu'laf. There is no good in one who neither gets along with others and neither no one gets along with him. Getting along with individuals means being patient with them, being forgiving with them. And this goes throughout our entire life. This isn't only, for example, in masjid. This goes with our own children, for example. You have to get along with your children. You have to be forgiving. You have to be kind to them. You have to be kind to spouse, for example, and they have to be kind to you. You have to be forgiving to them. If you're forgiving to them, if you're kind with them, you get along with them, then they will love you. One of the problems we have when it comes to raising children is that many times, in different cultures especially, we like to spoil our children. We like our children to be the number one, for example. We're over demanding in our children. And a lot of times we allow them so they can love me. I give him whatever he wants, and I think he'll love me, for example, or she'll love me. But, when I don't give them a plan, and I'm not doing tarbiyat of them, I'm not giving them adab, I have in reality taken away one of their rights. The tradition says this, that there are a few things, haqq, that the children have upon their parents. One of them is adab. One of them is adab. So therefore, some parents, they raise their children in a way that whatever he wants, so he can love dad, love mom. Oh, you want this right now? Okay. Now you want this again? Now you want this? You spoil them. That child will not have adab anymore, because that child doesn't know the meaning of jihad and nafs, of fighting against, for example, their lower desires. I know a brother who's is a professor in this community. He always talks about rewarding children with good behavior. When they do something well, when they perform, especially as fathers. Now mothers, a lot of times the motherly love is very unconditional. But especially fatherly love is one that usually children have to prove themselves to the father. That father will provide, will give him these things. If they perform, if they do good, then you'll give them these rewardings. This is causing that child to work hard. That's causing this child to know how the world works. That if you do something right, if you do something well, you will be rewarded. But if you do not do what you're supposed to do, and you don't do your taklif and your duty at that time, you will not be rewarded. This is called adab. So one of the problems that we have is that we want child to love me, but what's more important is that people love your children. People love your children. You do tarbiyat of them so greatly and with such precision that everyone says, what a good child, mashallah. Look at him, look at the adab of this child. Look at the mannerisms of this child. We like him because nobody really likes that problem child, for example, that one that is causing mischief for everyone, right? Everyone likes that child that is trained and disciplined in the correct manner. Now, I'm not saying to physically discipline them. I'm saying, no, care for them. Have a program for them. Don't just unconditionally give them gifts and rewards without earning it. Do tarbiyat of your children, and therefore think that when they want to be, we talk about being beloved in the eyes of people, think that I want to raise a child that is mu'addab, that has good manners, so that people can like him. This is something good. So therefore we talk tonight about 5 things that will cause me to be beloved in the eyes of people. Quran says, those who believe, have iman, and have practiced Islam, Allah will make them, give wood or love of people to them. But the tradition, we said, husnul khulq, husnul rifq, wa tawadu, from Imam Ali alayhi salam. To have good character, be kind, and to have humility, people will love you. 4, husnul dhan, be positive, think positive about the people. And fifth, to be not to be like, man kana ma'lafatan lil-mu'mineen. So the best are those who are friendly, those who are, in a way, getting along with others. To getting along with others is the fifth. Now I'm going to end with one tradition, inshallah, to make this balance. One of the, things that when you speak is that you always have to have a very balanced, approach. Now, someone might be, thinking of my lecture and saying that from now on I'm going to go out there and try to make people love me, for example, go out there in society to try and make sure I win their hearts. That should not be our intention. We said we have to have Allah love us, inshallah. We try to perform in a way that Allah loves us and also the people love us. But there's this interesting hadith from Jabir ibn Yazid al-Ju'fi, narrates from Imam Baghr alayhi salam in the book of Tuhaf al-Uqul, that Jabir gives this very strong advice, that Imam Baghr alayhi salam gives this strong advice to Jabir. And he tells him this, that in this, and I'm saying is to not be this extreme, is that Jabir, that if you live your life in a way that the tradition has, وَأْلَمْ بَأَنَّكَ لَا تَكُونُ لَنَا وَلِيًّا, you will not be a wali of us, Jabir. Jabir ibn Yazid al-Ju'fi maybe has like 70,000 narrations. He's one of those close confidants of the Imams. So therefore some of his traditions are very special traditions. You will not be a wali, a true follower of us, until you have this. You will not be a true follower of us until حتى لو اجتمع عليك أهل مصرك وقالوا إنك رجل سوء لم يحسنك ذلك. That if the entire people of your city gathered and they said that you are a bad man, it would not sadden you. So yes, we have dua from Prophet Ibrahim to make me be beloved and my family to be beloved. Yes. But remember also this hadith and balance it. That Imam Baghr alayhi salam says, if everyone in your city comes and says to you that you are a bad person, you are not saddened. Imagine right now, today, in Los Angeles area, 12 million people, 15 million people come to you and say, Fulani is bad, but you're doing what is right. That shouldn't upset you, because you're doing what is right. So it depends on those believers. It depends if they understand your worth. You might live in a time period where nobody knows your worth. Just as many of our prophets, they maybe had 2 followers, 1 follower, for example, sometimes. So therefore, it depends on the category of the believers, of the followers, how they understand you as a person. If they are one who follows, the commands of Allah, then they will love the mu'mineen. But if there are those who are of corrupt people, then they will not like the mu'mineen, necessarily. 2, it says, وَلَوْ قَالُوا إِنَّكَ رَجُلٌ صَالِحٌ لَمْ يَسَرُّكَ ذَلِكَ. Jabir, if people come to you and they say that the entire city says, you are a good man, it would not make you happy. So therefore we see from this tradition that even though it is good that people like me, it is good to have followers, for example, but my intention is not for people that is showing off. My intention is to be humble in the eyes of Allah. Naturally, people will like me, but my entire intention is not people. I don't do it. Sometimes I might have to do something at work that people, my co-workers, don't like me. I have to speak up for, injustice. I have to perform salat and everyone is waiting for me, but it's wajib upon me. So therefore, there will be times where I have to choose Allah over people. And then the tradition continues, وَلَكِنْ اعْرِضْ نَفْسَكَ عَلَى كِتَابِ اللَّهِ. Jabir, don't weigh if the people like you or the people don't like you. Weigh to see if your life is based on the book of Allah. See if you're acting in accordance to Quran. So to put all these traditions and to put these verses together, we come to this conclusion to answer this question. Should I be beloved in the eyes of people? In a way, yes. In a way, no. If that beloved being causes you to be falling into haram and falling into a life that is against Kitabullah and the Sunnah of the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, then we don't really want that love. We're not looking for that type of mahbubiyah. But if you perform in a way and you practice according to Kitabullah, the book of Allah, and the Sunnah, and the way of the Prophet and his noble family, and people will then naturally follow you and incline towards you, yes, that is something good, as we see in the religious and good communities. When you have, for example, someone who is saleh, so you have someone who is khair, he did good to the people, he built centers, he built schools, for example, or he was very kind, he was a teacher, an educator, an alim, for example, or for example, a mujahid, someone who fought in the path of Allah, for example, fought against injustice. These people will naturally respect as long as they're at a level where they understand, the worth of people, and not necessarily everyone understands the worth of people, individuals. So therefore, we, come to this conclusion that yes, we should be and live our lives in a way that our family, our community loves us. But if that community or that city is in a situation where they do not understand and respect what I'm about, then it's not necessarily that important, as the tradition says to Imam Bar alayhi salam, says to Jabir, that if the entire city comes and says you're good or bad, this should not make you upset, this should not make you happy. Ya Allah, we ask you to make us mahbub amongst the salaha, the good people, inshallah, amongst the Ahlul Ard and the Ahlul Sama, inshallah. Have rahmah and mercy upon Marhuma Nabhani, inshallah. Give patience to her family members. Give the thawab of this majlis and reward of this gathering, inshallah, for her. Remove oppression from our lands, inshallah. Ya Allah, we ask you to help remove this barrier of food that has been placed on the children and the people of Gaza. The one that United Nations is saying in 48 hours, maybe 14,000 children will starve to death if they are not helped. Ask Allah, inshallah, to come quick, faraj and relief, inshallah. Ya Allah, we ask you to always stay on Sirat al-Mustaqim, to forgive our sins, to answer our du'as, and to expedite the return of Imam Zaman with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.